The story of Jesus, the man whose wonderful life on earth has changed history because he has changed the lives of men and women by bringing them new spiritual hope and a greater understanding of God's love. This is his story. When God allowed his son Jesus to die on the cross for our sins, he showed forth his love for all mankind. In the early morning light, the city of Jerusalem seemed peaceful enough from its outline against the sky. But because the day was finished, there was a general feeling of tension, for Jesus had been condemned to death by the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate, at the insistence of the high priest, who was determined to crucify him. Outside the city on a hill named Golgotha, the Roman soldiers carried out their orders. There they bound and nailed 3 men to crosses. 2 were robbers, and the third was Jesus of Nazareth. Many gathered silently to watch, and among them were some of the chief priests of the temple. There were men in the crowd who had come with feelings of hatred. Others had come out of curiosity. But many who were friends of Jesus stood silently weeping. There were those who came just to mock and jeer at Jesus, scoffing at him and saying, "He saved others, let him save himself. Let the Christ, the King of Israel, now come down from the cross, that we may see and believe." To complete the mockery and ridicule, Pilate ordered that a sign be placed at the top of the cross which read, "Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews." Many of the people who read the sign repeated the words aloud with scorn. One of the chief priests from the temple called out, "Aha! You who would destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself and come down from the cross." When one of the robbers heard some of the crowd saying that Jesus might be the Messiah, he called out to him, "If you are the Christ, save us and yourself too." But when the other robber heard this, he became angry and said, "Have you no fear even of God when you are suffering the same penalty? We are suffering justly and are getting what we deserve, but this man has done nothing wrong." Then the robber spoke directly to Jesus, saying, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus answered the man's expression of faith by saying to him, "Truly, today you'll be with me in paradise." 3 hours had passed, and although it was now noon, a strange darkness fell over the whole land. Many wondered what was happening. While they were watching, 3 women and a man came up the hill to stand at the foot of the cross of Jesus. Looking down from the cross, Jesus saw his mother Mary and his beloved disciple standing there with his other friends. His mother looked up at him mournfully, her hands clasped together in hopeless grief. Jesus knew the sorrow his mother was suffering, and knowing the difficulty that lay ahead of her, he spoke to her with great compassion. Realizing that his beloved disciple would be of more comfort to his mother than anyone else, he said to her, "Woman, behold your son." In this way, Jesus was telling to her that the disciple would be like a son to her in the sorrowful days that lay ahead. Then through the disciple he said, "Behold your mother." Immediately the disciple comforted the mother of Jesus. The Bible tells us that from that hour he took her to his own home. During the long hours of darkness, Jesus grew weary with the pain and suffering. But presently the people standing nearest him heard him say, "I thirst." Then a soldier held up a sponge which had been dipped in a vinegar so that Jesus might drink from it. The sky grew darker and Jesus became weaker. Finally he cried out once more, saying, "Father, into thy hands I commit my spirit." Then he said, "It is finished." With these words, Jesus died. Now it was now late afternoon in the city of Jerusalem. The awful deed was finished on Golgotha. The crucifixion was over. In Pilate's quarters, a soldier admitted a rich and influential man named Joseph of Arimathea. He was a friend of Jesus and had begged audience with Pilate. Pilate waited impatiently, then commanded, "Well, speak up, what is it?" And to Pilate's surprise, Joseph of Arimathea made an unusual request. "I wish the body of Jesus for burial," he replied. It seemed strange to Pilate that this man, a distinguished citizen, should want the body of Jesus, so he asked, "Are you in any way related to this man?" To Pilate's question, Joseph replied, "No, but he was my friend, and I have a new tomb which is near the place of crucifixion. And because the Sabbath is about to start, I would ask your permission to place the body there." When Pilate heard this, he could find no reason to object, so he ordered that the body be given to Joseph of Arimathea. Joseph immediately returned to Golgotha to prepare Jesus' body for burial. It was wrapped in linen cloths and carried to his tomb. Mary, the mother of Jesus, and the other women followed the men close by to see where the body of Jesus was to be taken. They watched very closely as the men laid the body in the new tomb. Soon the great stone would be rolled across the entrance, and the men would return to their homes. Later that day, after the heavy stone had been placed across the entrance, the chief priests from the temple came to make sure the tomb was definitely sealed. 3 empty crosses were outlined against the sky. The men they had held were dead, and although the hill was quiet, the people would forever remember the tragedy on this Friday afternoon. Here ends this tape. Please rewind it to the very beginning.